Hello and welcome to our viewers joining us from all around the world and to everyone streaming us on CNN Max. I'm LYNDA KINKADE. Just ahead, Donald Trump calls the Ukrainian president a dictator after Zelensky said Trump was repeating Russian disinformation. The Vatican says Pope Francis is showing a slight improvement as he struggles with double pneumonia. And a flying future? The company testing its flying car in an urban environment for the first time. We begin with U.S. President Donald Trump's extraordinary new attack on the Ukrainian president. One day after falsely accusing Ukraine of starting the war with Russia, the U.S. president calling President Zelensky, quote, a dictator without elections. In a lengthy social media post, a reference to the fact that Ukraine has been forced to postpone elections due to the ongoing conflict. Mr. Trump saying, quote, Zelensky better move fast or he is not going to have a country left. In the meantime, we are successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia. The post coming after Mr. Zelensky accused President Trump of parroting Russian propaganda, saying he lives in a, quote, disinformation space created by Moscow. Well, this back and forth between the two leaders is being viewed with shock and dismay in both Ukraine and Europe, where leaders met in a virtual summit Wednesday to discuss security issues. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz calling President Trump's new comments, quote, wrong and dangerous. Mr. Trump also getting blowback from some fellow Republicans, including Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who said Wednesday that there is, quote, no question that Russia is the aggressor. Republican Senator John Kennedy also saying Ukraine is the undisputed victim in the ongoing war.
The White House said that Ukraine started the war. I disagree. I think Vladimir Putin started the war. I also believe, through bitter experience, that Vladimir Putin is a gangster. He's a gangster with a black heart. He makes Jeffrey Dahmer look like Mother Teresa.
Well, President Zelensky says he'll meet with the U.S. Special Envoy to Ukraine and Russia on Thursday. He says he hopes for constructive work with the United States while also cautioning the U.S. on the diplomatic path ahead.
I would like Trump's team to be more truthful. All of this definitely doesn't affect Ukraine in a positive way. They are letting Putin out of isolation.
Mr. Zelensky says the world faces a choice to be, quote, with Putin or with peace. Our Nick Payton-Walsh is in Kyiv with more on Wednesday's developments.
This was the day it was all meant to get back on track. President Trump's envoy, Keith Kellogg, coming to town to listen.
We understand the need for security guarantees.
But he was walking into a storm. Hours earlier, Trump falsely said Ukraine started the war.
You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
And he falsely stated Zelensky had only 4% approval rating. Basically, Kremlin talking points at which Zelensky hit back.
Unfortunately, President Trump, I have great respect for him as a leader of a nation that we have great respect for. The American people who always support us, unfortunately lives in this disinformation space.
Trump retorted with extraordinary words, calling Zelensky a dictator, refusing to hold elections, falsely repeating half of US aid had gone, quote, missing, and saying Zelensky wanted the gravy train to keep going and had better move fast if he wanted a country left. Russia advancing still, both on the front line and on the diplomatic arena, with Trump's top officials in Saudi Arabia. Imagine hearing today's outburst from your main backer while fighting on the front lines, almost ripping up the US-Ukraine relationship, and making it harder still to answer the question of what peace deal works for Ukraine.
Mr. President, we've heard the idea of security guarantees again and again from the Americans, but they don't want to put troops on the ground. They don't want to put you in part of NATO. How would security guarantees potentially look given those restraints? Can you explain what would work?
What will work? I think NATO will work, really. But
they won't let you in. So.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. The strongest. But when they said, for example, no boots on the ground, you know, but they have ships, but they have air defense. They really have it. American, they have it. They have air defense. Okay, can we have 20 systems of Patriot? It's enough.
We heard ourselves how the threat is over Kiev most nights when the Russian drones come.
Let me just pause, let you hear that.
This is why a peace deal must be real and urgent. Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, Kiev, Ukraine.
Well, the US Vice President has also weighed in on the war of words between Trump and Zelensky. J.D. Vance says the Ukrainian president's criticism of Trump is counterproductive and, quote, disgraceful. Well, Larry Sabato joins me now. He's the director of the University of Virginia's Center for Politics and the editor of A Return to Normalcy, the 2020 election that almost broke America. Good to see you, Larry.
Nice to see you too, Lena.
So Trump said the Ukraine started the war. He called Zelensky a dictator. He accused him of not wanting peace or elections. Has the US president fallen for Russian propaganda?
Well, he always has. He's been very, very close to Russia during his first term, not just now in the beginning of the second term. He either believes it or he wants to believe it. And it's pretty clear that what he said about Zelensky has backfired even in his own party. For the first time today, some senior Republicans disputed Trump in harsh terms. His former vice president, Mike Pence, accused him of lying and insisted that he tell the truth and support Zelensky. So I would say on the whole that Trump has made the situation much worse for himself. Of course, he's also made it much worse for Zelensky and for Europe.
Yeah, it was quite a contrast, wasn't it? Looking at what Trump's current vice president, J.D. Vance, had to say about Zelensky and his words on Trump, basically saying, don't badmouth Trump or it could backfire, which is quite a contrast to what the former Vice President Mike Pence said, who called out Trump's lie online. He said, Mr. President, Ukraine did not start this war. Russia launched an unprovoked and brutal invasion, claiming hundreds of thousands of lives. The road to peace must be built on the truth. And he also posted a link there to a Fox News article about that truth, that fact. What do you make of that distinction?
Well, Vance doesn't want to end up like Pence. He knows that his entire future depends upon Trump supporting him in 2028 if he decides to run for president, which is almost certain. So he doesn't want to end up like Pence. At the same time, I think he has to be careful because he's going to be caught in the same web that Trump is, particularly if things don't turn out well. And it's no coincidence, I think, that in the past 24 hours, 3 very good surveys, including Gallup, have shown Trump's approval ratings dropping into the mid-40s and his disapprovals rising close to 50 or above 50. We're only a month into his presidency.
And big picture, Larry, can you describe, historically speaking, what we're seeing in terms of this U.S. pivot towards Russia and how that differs from what we've seen from U.S. presidents in the past?
Well, it's unprecedented. I grew up in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s when both parties said that Russia or the Soviet Union was the enemy. As Ronald Reagan, the predecessor to Donald Trump and the Republican Party that Trump himself likes to cite, Ronald Reagan said the Soviet Union is the evil empire. Well, this is pretty much like the Soviet Union once was, but now, apparently, according to Trump, it's a bed of roses.
Exactly. Larry Sabato, always much to discuss. Good to have you with us. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.